It's finally time for part 2 of turning Eeveelutions into humans. I know you've been waiting for this video, and if you have, I hope you enjoy. Now, who doesn't have a favourite Pokemon? Mine personally has to be Mimikyu. I even have a tattoo of this silly little guy. But one Pokemon that will always stand out to everyone is Eevee, known to be the most versatile Pokemon, being able to evolve with a range of designs, power sets, and characteristics. If you don't know, this series was planned over a year ago, or even 2 now, so my style and skills have changed a lot since then, so this might mean how I visualize these girls might be slightly different, but either way, get ready, grab your Pokédex, and let's go discover some Pokemon. In the last video, I started off with Flareon, so this time I wanted to switch things up and begin with something a little more freezing. This evolution has the ability to lower its body temperatures to below 0, instantly freezing the moisture in the air around it. Of course, I'm talking about Glaceon. Glaceon has the ability to freeze its fur into sharp needle-like hairs, which can be launched at enemies, and despite how elegant this Pokemon may look, this attack is known to be incredibly effective. One of the things that makes this evolution so interesting is that they're known to be very docile, yet powerful in battle. They don't rely on aggression, but instead stay calm, patient, and completely in control of the situation. This calm and collected nature is what I wanted to reflect in this design, having someone who feels composed and graceful on the surface, but is capable of holding their own battles when needed. When it came to putting together a mood board for Glaceon's design, I instantly found myself drawn to Your Forger from Spy X Family. To me, there's something about her quiet elegance that reminded me specifically of Glaceon. I've definitely taken some inspirations from Yours tied up hairstyle, but also made sure Glaceon's original design is the main reference point, especially when it comes to the shape and the structure of the hair. I also wanted to take Yours grace and restraint into consideration when working on Glaceon's human design. She feels soft-spoken and composed, but there's a clear strength underneath that calm exterior. I really wanted that contrast to come through in both her pose and her outfit. For her clothing, I wanted something that looked like it could keep her warm no matter how cold it gets. Without layering her in heavy winter pieces, I chose a simple, fitted bodysuit to mirror Glaceon's sleek original design. In the Pokemon's form, Glaceon doesn't have many accessories beyond the colour patterns on their feet, so I wanted to use this detail into making a pair of boots, keeping the design minimal but intentional. Did you know? Until Generation 8, Glaceon could only be evolved via the Icy Rock location. That was until Sword and Shield let it evolve by an Ice Stone item. If you didn't know, I'm also planning to turn these human designs into magical girls once this mini-series is finished. I've already come up with a few ideas, but I wanted to start giving you an idea on the roles I can imagine each evolution playing within the group. For Glaceon, I see her being one of the more mature members, being around 24 or 25. At first, she might seem a little cold or distant, but that's really just because she's reserved when first meeting her. Deep down, she cares the most about the people around her and is incredibly loyal to her friends. She's the type of person to put herself in harm's way if it means keeping the rest of the group safe. She's the type of person everyone naturally goes to for advice, whether that's help with combat strategies and training or just guidance with everyday life. Did you know Glaceon's original 2D sprite was blue and its shiny was white, but the transition to 3D changed the models and made the shiny look a lot more subtle than it should be. For this redesign, I will say it's become one of my favourites that I've worked on so far. I really love how the cool tones came together and how accurate she feels to the original Glaceon design, while still standing confidently as her own character. She feels familiar, but not copied, which is exactly what I'm aiming for with these redesigns. Looking ahead to our Magical Girl version, I'd love to push this design just a little bit further. I imagine giving her more of a heroic outfit that still keeps that same simplicity, but with a few extra details layered in. Nothing too over the top, but just enough to show the role as a protector and potential leader within the group. I also like the idea of her outfit being subtly influenced by the youngest member, Eevee. Maybe that influence shows up in softer shape or small design details that hint at her connection to the rest of the team. It would be a nice way to show that despite her calm, mature nature, she still cares for those around her. Let's see what my friend has to say about her.
The design of Glaceon personified has several smart choices. I like the idea of the snowflake that's like a direct reference to the element that it uses. The color scheme too also does that, which is quite cool. Like of the outfit and the hair and such. The fur editions are also quite cool because it also gives it like a feeling of the cold because it's like Arctic clothing or whatever. And obviously, you know, Glaceon has fur itself. I like the tassels in the hair being like a direct replication of the tail that Glaceon has and the sort of things going down from the ears, which is quite cool. I like the personality conveyed in the expression as well. It kind of gives the idea of Glaceon as quite like a confident sort of Pokemon, which is kind of cool. But all in all, I think it's a very good rendition of Glaceon, so well done.
For my next evolution, I wanted to focus on one known for its sleek black fur, with yellow rings that activate in the darkness, with its impressive defensive abilities. Of course, I'm talking about Umbreon. From the very start, I knew I wanted to lean heavily into the Gothic-inspired design because, at least for me, anything else wouldn't capture Umbreon's appeal in the way I've always imagined. Umbreon has always carried that mysterious appeal along with the nocturnal energy that is powerful. Rather than making this design overly aggressive, I wanted her to feel elegant, composed, while intimidating but in a subtle way. I want these gothic elements to balance out her beauty and strength while still being true to their original design. I've always found it really interesting how across the games, the moon plays such a crucial role in Umbreon's character. Did you know that in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the light of the moon is said to alter Eevee's genetic structure, triggering its evolution into Umbreon? When it came to designing Umbreon, I made sure to keep her key features, the black and the yellow colour scheme alongside the striking bright red eyes. While I worked on her human design, I wanted something that feels elegant and intentional, rather than overly dramatic. I wanted her to represent that sleek, composed and quiet nature Umbreon's meant to represent, keeping the reference in mind without being too literal. I also wanted to give her a facial piercing to hint towards her individuality and the refusal to strictly follow society's norms. In my adaptation, I see Umbreon being the quietest evolution, being 26 to 27, only speaking up when she needs to. She definitely is more of a night owl than a morning person, preferring to explore the city during the night, and more times on her own than with others. One of the ways Umbreon evolves within the game is through friendship points, which I thought would translate into her having stronger bonds with certain evolutions, specifically Espeon and Eevee. I imagine these connections shaping out her more quiet and reserved traits, but deeply loyal to those she cares about. I could also imagine Eevee being inspired by Umbreon, always asking for guidance, especially when it comes to fashion and makeup. To strangers, Umbreon might seem intimidating due to her height, composed demeanour, and striking makeup, giving off the powerful presence, but behind it all, she truly has a heart of gold. She is protective, thoughtful, and would go out of her way for the people she loves, even if she doesn't say it out loud. When I started working on Umbreon's magical girl design, I definitely want to keep her gothic-inspired features as that mysterious, elegant vibe is central to her character. For her costume, I'm planning on drawing inspiration from characters like Catwoman, who are known for their sleek, form-fitting designs. Fun fact, when agitated, Umbreon protects itself by spraying poisonous sweat from its pores. I wonder if there's a way I could use this with her magical girl design. Umbreon has become one of my favourite redesigns throughout this entire process. I feel like I've managed to keep her design true to the character, while also paying closer attention to her silhouette, which for me is defining features of Umbreon. That sleek, recognisable shape is what gives her so much of a mysterious and elegant presence, and I wanted to make sure to translate that into her human form. I also don't get to work on gothic-inspired characters often, so this was a really fun challenge for me. It was important for me to make her feel natural, and not just like a costume. Overall, I hope this design captures the essence of Umbreon. For this design, I wasn't able to get my friend to let me know what they thought about this design, but let me know in the comments what you think about this redesign. For the final design of this video, I've decided to focus on Espeon. At first, I was unsure which direction I wanted to take her design, But taking my time to think about Espeon's personality and essence, it became clear that she was created to represent the yang to Umbreon's yin, being calm and elegant and radiant in a very different way. I knew I wanted to give them a design that was more unique from the others, while still feeling like a good reflection on the Pokemon's origins. When I started gathering ideas for Espeon's mood board, I was immediately drawn to the 1920s flapper fashion. This style is defined by youthful rebellion, independence, and the desire for freedom, embracing jazz, dance, parties, and new social liberties of the era. Right away, I felt like these qualities aligned perfectly with Espeon's personality, giving her a sense of elegance and poise, while still keeping her lively and full of energy. There's something about flapper girls that radiate a very specific kind of confidence and sophistication, which instantly reminded me of Espeon, the way they carry themselves with grace and poise while still being a little playful. It felt like the perfect inspiration for creating her human design. I wanted to be able to capture that sense of strength and freedom. Did you know, Espeons are extremely loyal to any trainers they consider to be worthy. It's precognitive. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce this word properly, but I'll put the word on the screen. Powers enable the Pokemon to protect itself and their trainer from danger. When it came to designing her outfit, I wanted a dress that flowed just past her knees, featuring a soft dropped waist that sits just lower than her natural waistline, allowing her to seem longer, which would also allow her to move more freely, adding a few beads alongside the dress. Adding some extra touches, I included a feathered headpiece, giving her a refined appearance of that extra touch of grace, while clear gloves showing her sophistication, but something that also doesn't feel overwhelming. I wanted her hair to take inspiration from the era as well, styled in a short bob that frames her face that could also add movements as she dances, while she also has a longer ponytail at the back, with a split that mirrors Espeon's signature tail. For her necklace, I wanted to give her that gem that represents her staple piece. That also reflects the 1920s jewelry at the time. I felt like it was also right to give her a lot of moles to show off her natural beauty. In the end, I wanted this design to feel timeless and empowering, understanding Espeon's natural elegance with this free-spirited and confident energy that I felt perfectly captured the essence of both the Pokemon and the spirit of the flapper era. Fun fact, in Pokemon Sword, Espeons are able to read air currents, allowing them to predict things such as weather or its opponent's next move. I would definitely rank Espeon's final design in my top 3 favourites for the series. It's a style I don't usually get to explore with my human OCs, especially compared to something like Umbreon's darker gothic inspired aesthetic, so it was exciting to try something new. I knew I wanted her design to stand out from the others, as I feel each evolution has its own unique quirks and personality traits, and giving them individualized outfits is a big part of bringing that to life. Using Espeon's classic colour palette was also really important. The soft purples immediately represents who she's inspired by, while allowing her design to feel instantly recognisable. In my Eeveelution world, Espeon is one of the more open and approachable characters. She has the ability to get along with almost everyone, but she's also has a specific code for choosing who's worthy of her friendship. She knows her own values and isn't afraid to set boundaries, but at the same time, she loves helping others recognise their own worth as well. I could easily see her being particularly generous and nurturing towards Eevee, guiding them as they figure out who they are and helping them grow with their patience and encouragement. The balance of wisdom and kindness that the other evolutions naturally look up to, I imagine Espeon as one of the more older characters in the friend group, perhaps around 28. Bringing a sense of maturity, truthfulness, and stability, she's the kind of person who can give advice without judgment, and her guidance is exactly what many of the evolutions need at certain moments. And now, to get Maya's lovely opinion.
I really like how the soft purples and lilacs clearly come from the original image and keep the same kind of calm and elegant vibe, but there's also had some, I guess, depth and highlights added to it, which brings the piece more to life, I'd say, more than the original. But the fact that the same colours have been used kind of shows that rather than it being a direct copy, it's more of a solid reinterpretation of it, while bringing its own elements of creativity. For example, how the red gem that was on the head is now used as a piece on the necklace, and that same shape has been brought for the earrings and towards the headpiece. But overall, it is a really beautiful image, and I think all the colours work really well together, and the pieces have some similarities, but enough to show that there has been individual creativity involved.
If you've made it to the end, I want to say thank you so much. I hope you like the 3 evolutions I've chosen and reimagined in my style. I feel like I've managed to keep these designs accurate to the originals. Let me know in the comments which one's your favourite, and if you're wanting to see a final part to this series, don't forget to leave a like. If this video gets 25 likes, I will finish the final part with Vaporeon, Leafeon and Jolteon. I'll see you in the next one. Stay creative. Bye bye!